In this episode, we're talking about a game with moderate time travel, a notebook to aid you in helping others, and a time loop. It's not Majora's Mask. We're talking about Kulebra and the Souls of Limbo. This and more on Indie Game Arcade. Welcome to Indie Game Arcade, a podcast that deep dives into the latest and greatest indie games. My name is Chris.
I'm Joseph.
And I have not told you this yet, but I was up all night, Joseph, just exploding out the bottom. Exploding, Joseph.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Why are you telling me this now?
Because I thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to die and go to Limbo, which hopefully, if I did die, I would go there and I would befriend this adorable snake, this dead snake, who would help me do whatever I needed to do to move on into the next life. And that's why we're going to talk about Kulebra and the Souls of Limbo. Aren't you glad that I brought my stomach problems?
I feel like I'm worse off for it. You somehow ruined my day.
That's what I'm here for. Game start! Kulebra and the Souls of Limbo was released on May 16th, 2025, developed by Gala Games and published by Fellow Traveler for $19.99. And as a description, this is a 3D adventure game with 2D paper aesthetics, so think like Paper Mario, but with a very Latin America-inspired like visuals and themes. And you're playing as Kulebra, who is a cheerful undead snake, as you navigate the world of Limbo, a place where souls with unresolved issues are trapped in a perpetual 24-hour time loop and forget everything after that period. However, Kulebra is what's called a bright soul, who is someone that can retain their memories, and through empathy, understanding, and helping others, Kulebra can sometimes leave a mark on them, allowing them to remember you as you eventually help them to move on. So this game is kind of part Majora's Mask, part Spiritfarer. For those who are familiar with those two games, Majora's Mask, one of my favorite games of all time. Definitely, I would say my favorite Zelda game of all time. And then I know Spiritfarer very much I don't want to put words in people's mouths, but an extremely popular indie game. One that I have owned for a long time, still haven't played it, but one of these days I will get to it. Very emotional, I know that much. Have you seen this game before, Joseph?
I mean, just the trailers of it. I've not played it, so I don't know a ton about it. Visually, it looks cool. Is there combat in this game? Is this a game I would like?
It is combat free. So I'm so sorry. I'm so
disappointing.
Sorry.
Well, I like the way it looks.
Yeah. From an artistic standpoint, though, I knew you would like it because the visual style of this game is fantastic. That was the thing that drew me into this. And the reason why, too, that I was just like, you know what, I want to give this a shot. I want to play it, see how it goes. And like, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I fell in love with this game while I was playing it. You know, the idea of like combat and everything aside, since there isn't any, but like this hit on, we were talking about last episode about how Clair Obscure hits on such a really deep emotional level. This was also hitting me on a really deep emotional level as well. I'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end, but I'll go into like the mechanics and everything first to kind of, you know, so I can lay the groundwork for why. So the main point of this game, or I guess what you're doing, is you're mainly exploring and interacting with the people, the world. You're meeting people to understand really what your objectives are. Like the overall objective is like, you know, you have like an overarching quest, and you're also trying to understand like your place in Limbo. Like, why is it that you are a bright soul? Like, why can you remember everything? Why, and, you know, everyone else can't? The more you talk to people and understand their problems and why they haven't moved on yet, you'll see that some of their issues are going to be intertwined or even a part of you understanding your own purpose and like how you can maybe move on yourself. But within that too, there is this time loop system. So there's a day, dusk, and night cycle. After night, the world resets. So most of the characters, well, all the characters aside from you really, will forget previous events, but like you will remember everything, obviously. And so you'll be able to make incremental progress. And that's why I bring up Majora's Mask so much, because it is a lot like that. With this just being, you know, a single day and Majora's Mask being like that 3-day kind of system. And to kind of move through the cycle and stuff, instead of like a perpetual cycle that's going, you rest at a bench and then you select like, if you're done doing stuff in the day, then you'll select dusk or you'll select night or you'll select, you know, the next day, you'll select morning. And depending on the time, characters are doing different things. Certain areas and some characters will be available or unavailable, which means like there's a lot of like puzzle solving and stuff, environmentally, socially, that you kind of have to figure out like and understand character schedules of like who's going to be where, when, so that I can accomplish like this task. So you kind of have to observe some of the characters, understand their patterns, assist them to do whatever they need to advance their stories and advance your own overarching story. And you do have, again, going back to like that, you know, parallel of Majora's Mask, you have a notebook that helps you remember all these things. All the tasks and stuff are tracked in there, like profiles on all the people that you meet, all the important information that help you understand the routines, clues, objectives, all that stuff. There's also a lot of like, you know, item collecting and stuff. You're collecting pearls, which are kind of like the currency of this game. There are treasure chests and stuff like that for you to unlock. Lock picking in this game is super cool. And the reason I like it is because it's like you can get like a hairpin and try to unlock, let's say, a treasure chest or something. This is like a sequence, like an order sequence that you have to like figure out. And you get like an up, down, left, right selection. And you're having to like memorize the pattern as you're like experimenting to like open the lock. And I just liked that lock picking mechanic to it. I thought that was cool. As you're like trying to help people and, you know, talk with them, get them to be able to move on, they might become a dark soul, which is basically there are these like darker forces within Limbo that are kind of manipulating certain things within this, you know, in-between world that you're in. And it can cause some of these folks to become corrupted into a dark soul. And then they'll become very adversarial. And though there isn't like combat per se, like it's not like fighting or anything, you do have to try to figure out like how you can uncorrupt them. And sometimes it's like talking them down in certain ways, but you have to remember past conversations or past clues and stuff to figure out like how to uncorrupt them. There's like different items or something that you might have to go and find or combine different things to turn them back before you can help them move on. So it's a totally different style of game in that sense, but it's really interesting. And as far as like progression through the game, like, so you're kind of going into different areas and those areas will be locked or blocked for different reasons. So to move on, you have to figure out how to get to the next area, which really will coincide with helping someone to find out like information, and like, you know, helping people really helps you in your own quest. So another thing is there's like multiple outcomes for the different characters that you're helping. So there's not always like a right or wrong way to do things. It can change based on your approach. So I honestly like, I love the idea of this. It's such a charming and very emotional game. Like the conversations that you have with these characters are super emotionally heavy because like it goes back to this idea that these are souls that have not been able to move on, and there's like some really heavy emotional reason that they haven't moved on to like the next life, and you're kind of helping untangle all that stuff and trying to help them do better. And if you do certain things and really help them progress, you can leave a mark on them, and then they will remember you the next day if you've like made enough impact and made that mark. So then like that will help you progress even further. So I just love that idea that in this game, the idea of empathy, understanding can make such a mark on someone that's stuck in this time loop that regardless or despite the time loop, they will still remember who you are because of the mark that you made on them. So obviously there's like a lot of layers of storytelling, and like there's obviously like a message within this game. And I think that's really why I resonated with this so much, aside from just the art style, because the art and the sound of this game are fantastic. It's beautiful. It's like artistically one of my favorite games I've seen all year, and it makes you feel so happy and so sad at the same time. It just brought me back to all those melancholic feelings I had playing Majora's Mask as a kid, where you feel for all of these people in this kind of doomed way. And like, you know, years later as an adult, you understand that Majora's Mask really is like a metaphor for kind of like being in limbo and a lot of these like emotions that are like depression and all these other things. There's a lot of that in this game too. And I'm going to keep comparing that game because it is the closest you can get as far as a comparison. Like it really resonated with me on a level that not a lot of games have for a long time.
So there's a lot of things that I can appreciate about it, especially visually, and I'm sure the music's wonderful too. And the story, that's great. Like it sounds like a really wonderful message behind it. I just know like it's not maybe it's too relaxing or cozy for me in that sense, but there's absolutely an audience for it, and I could see why they would love this.
How do you like, I'm curious to know, like, how do you feel about like, because obviously they're in the way I was describing this, there's a very heavy like messaging in this game about like empathy and understanding and stuff with others. How do you feel about like that kind of stuff, like within games? Like, does that ever turn you away from games at all? Or is it kind of like a neither here or there sort of thing for you?
I think it depends on if the gameplay is engaging enough to keep me tied to the game. That's when the story will also pull through for me. But if it's like purely a game about that message and it's just like, I don't know, I'm just kind of walking through or turning pages of a book or something.
Sure.
Then it's like, it just doesn't resonate with me as much, only because I'm not tied to the game at all if I'm just there for the story. So I need it to kind of hit me from both sides for it to really resonate with me as a person. It's just the way I am as a gamer in general.
Yeah.
But I do, like I said, appreciate that message. This is something I would absolutely watch as like a movie or a show. But if I'm interacting with something, I want it to be something that I feel active in.
Yeah, I totally get that. Like there's those two kinds of, and there's probably more nuance to this, but like the two types of gamers is like, I would say there's like the gamers that are gameplay first or like maybe mechanic first, which I think is probably you fall more into that. And then there's others that I think I fall more into, which is like the story first. And yeah, I think that this is definitely a story first game and mechanics later sort of game, because like the mechanics are very light, and it is a very character driven, very story driven kind of game with light mechanics to it.
Mm-hmm.
There's games that do balance that very well though. And I think when we were talking the last episode about Clair Obscur, where it's kind of both, that one's like very, I say extremely balanced in that story and gameplay are extremely well balanced. And I think that that's why, as much as I love a game like this, like personally, Kulebra and the Souls of Limbo, when it comes to my personal preference, it would be in my list for top, like one of my top games for the year for me. But like overall, I would not expect this to be on anybody's top list as like when we're talking about the larger, like what is the best games from the year? Like I would definitely not include this game in like the conversation because it's not like, you know, it's not the mass appeal, you know, kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Have there really been any sort of visual novel-esque games that have been like game of the year contenders? I'm trying to think of some, but like it just nothing comes to mind at least.
No, I don't know. I think if anyone ever got close, it was probably Doki Doki Literature Club. And I think
that's more because of the twist than anything, I guess, right?
I would assume so. But I do know of the time that year just because I've been doing like those top 5, top 10 videos and stuff on our channel. And with the research I've been doing, it was like one of the within the top 5 games played the year that it came out. And that's like across like all of Steam. So yeah, it was pretty huge for sure. But whether like, let's say at Game Awards or anything, whether it made that conversation, I don't really exactly know. But I would assume that it's probably the closest of like one's ever gotten.
For me, what would make me play a game, this game specifically, would be if it was either some sort of had either deck building mechanics, if it had like a card game thing behind it, or if there was some sort of combat-esque thing. It doesn't have to be like directly combat, like somebody's punching somebody, but it's like, even if it was like someone fighting against sorts of emotions or turmoil that they're dealing with, trying to pass on to the outside of limbo. Like things like that, conceptually interesting and just give me something to mechanically chew on. But right now, this just it's too, this is like an oyster to me in that I can't enjoy the experience if I'm just kind of swallowing it whole, you know?
Though, this prompted an idea there is a cozy game. Well, I would say cozy-ish game out there. And this came out a couple of years ago that I think would be one that you would be interested in because it is a deck builder of sorts. This is Signs of the Sojourner. And from what I remember, like it's been a long time since I played it. I think I have a Let's Play of it at somewhere. Maybe I don't remember. I remember playing it on Game Pass quite a few years ago. In that one, like you are kind of like running a caravan in this world where you're like trying to sell things to keep your kind of like your town alive, and you have to travel to these different areas, but not all of these areas speak the same language. And you kind of are having to decipher things and try to translate and stuff to like talk to these people to understand them and to sell your stuff. And to like establish trade and everything, but you're using like cards to do that. So that's where like the deck building and the card system and everything comes into. So like I'd have to like see if I'm remembering it correctly. I'd have to like revisit it again. But like that might be like one of those instances where there might be a little crossover from like cozy game to enough physically that you can do. I say physically, it's a video game, but like enough like more nuanced mechanics and stuff like that might grab your attention. So maybe check that out sometime, Signs of the Sojourner, and see if it's something you'd be interested in.
It does sound interesting. And one that I always think of, and I think I mentioned it a couple episodes ago too, is Griftlands. That's a roguelike where you have, I mean, it's a turn-based roguelike with a deck builder roguelike, and you don't have to fight your way through things. There are like negotiation things you can do instead of like the like straightforward combat. And that is conceptually interesting to me and gives me something to chew on again and just like think about. When I'm playing a game, I like to be challenged either emotionally, physically, or mentally. So if none of those things are happening, then it just feels too easy for me in a way that so I guess like I know some people play video games like just to straight relax, but it's relaxing to me to be challenged in that way. So I don't know, that's a me thing. And I know other people share that view, but like you said, there's different things for different people. A lot of people are more mechanically driven like myself. And then some people are just more story driven like you. And it's not wrong or right either way. It's just to each their own sort of situation.
Yeah, it fills different needs. Like some people just have different needs, and like certain games fill the need that you have, and vice versa. So yeah, totally legit, man.
I never want to say that I never want it to sound like I'm trying to shame any of these games or say like they're bad games. I appreciate them for what they are. They're just outside of my realm of expertise or realm of like personal preference.
Yeah. Well, if you're ever craving that, like an emotional journey that feels like the emotions from Majora's Mask, that's the game to try. Kulebra and the Souls of Limbo. Power up! Hey, if you're enjoying this episode so far, do us a favor, throw us a like, a follow, share this episode or the podcast with folks who love indie games so we can get more of these game recommendations out there and support indie developers. We also have a YouTube channel at youtube.com/nerdsloth where you can catch us playing more indie games like Kulebra and the Souls of Limbo, or you can check out our top 5 and top 10 series for even more indie game recommendations. We just had one out for 5 indie games for people that love Doom, and that one got a lot of attention. A lot of people were commenting on that, which was really interesting, and introduced me to some new games as well with some of those comments, which was really cool. But yeah, go check those things out because we believe there's an indie game out there for everyone. Combo! Let's talk about some other indie games we've been playing this week. This one is definitely more up your alley. This is Nine Kings, developed by Sad Socket and released on the 22nd. Well, will release on the 22nd. It's not there yet as of us recording this. This is a roguelike deck builder where you are playing as one of 9 kings, attempting to defeat all the others, and you're using cards to lay out buildings or armies and then upgrading them like on this grid. So it's a roguelike deck builder, but it's also like kind of a tower defense / city builder as well. Every time you like use a card, so you put like, let's say a tower out there, or you put an army out there. So every time you use a card, your army then engages in a battle against someone else's army. And if you win, you get like 3 cards that pop up. You choose one of those cards. And one of those will also be a card pulled from the deck of the king that you just like, whose army you just defeated. So you can like do a lot of mix and matching and stuff. There are so many synergies between cards with the armies and the buildings. So if you like place them on your grid a certain way, you might really be able to buff your armies or your, your palaces, your castles, your turrets, different things like that. You can really experiment and do some crazy combos, which is really the point of this game, is to create the craziest combinations and like the most game-breaking combinations that you can. And like sometimes when you do that, you can just steamroll the other side, which is kind of funny. But super fun to just experiment, try all these different combos, see what you can come up with. As you play, you can eventually like unlock all the different kings and start with their decks. And each king has a theme. Like you start as the king of nothing. So it's kind of like basic like castle, knight, soldier, bowman, things like that. But like some of the other kings are like the king of nature, and they've got like elves and boars and like spores, like these like mushrooms that will create these like mycelium kind of creatures and stuff that will keep growing every battle. There's the king of spells, which is spellcasters like wizards and warlocks and shamans. There's the king of blood, which uses demons and imps and things like that. So like with all the themes and stuff, and like since you are also getting some of the other king's cards whenever you defeat them, like the amount of like mixing and matching that you can do to create different combos gets just crazy. You also get permanent perks that you can unlock between your runs to get like lasting upgrades as you progress through like harder difficulty modes. And there are several difficulty modes that you can apply to your game. I was looking up, and some people have created damage combos that have gotten into like the trillions. It's hilarious, but like it's purposefully so. Like the devs like are okay with this. Like they want to see what people come up with, and like so the idea of like creating these game-breaking combos and stuff like that, like that's what they want. They want you to be able to do that.
And it also could just be because it's early access is what it's being released in. So this is still a testing phase. I'm sure, and it says it's going to be in early access for roughly 12 months. At least that's their plan. So about a year. And I'm sure they'll see some of those broken combos and be like, okay, let's tone that back a little bit.
Yeah,
or like
they
tone
might.
that down some. But part of the fun of some roguelikes is like dealing with the RNG and finding out if you can find a way to break it on a run. But that won't always be the case. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. It looks interesting. I've not played it like you have, but it looks fun. Looks like something that would be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's fast too. Like it's definitely where, I've done about 4 runs, I think, on this. And like the runs, I feel like I can get through a full run in like less than 20 minutes. Maybe that even might be overestimating. Like it might even be like 15 minutes or so to go through a full run.
So have you been beating runs like pretty consistently? Is that okay? So
yeah,
it's not,
and
so
that's on normal difficulty. So
yeah,
I haven't tried hard difficulty. So
like, what are you getting for each run victory wise, like or reward wise?
So that's like where you can get some of those like permanent upgrades and stuff like that. So you'll unlock some of those that you can do to like change certain things about like, you know, you think about like how Vampire Survivors and stuff like that, you can like, you earn those points to like throw into your permanent abilities and stuff that will just carry through. It's like that. So you're doing that. And then you're also like earning points towards unlocking the other king decks. So that's what they've got so far. That isn't to say that there won't be like more unlocks or more things added, but that's just what it is at the moment.
Cool. Yeah, it looks interesting. I'm going to put it on my wish list for sure.
Yeah, I've had a really good time with it. It's definitely one that doesn't take a lot of time. It can be really just kind of fun. It's got a little bit of a sense of humor to it too, which is kind of nice. Just seeing the tiny little guys fighting each other and stuff and moving around, and just the little noises that they make during the fights is great. So yeah, it's fun. Sweet. I see that you started playing Rhythm Witch Beat Death like I was talking about last week. So you've been enjoying that?
Yeah, it is cool. Like I've only beaten the first like 2 stages of it, I guess, or levels. I mean, there are multiple like levels or stages per level. I don't know how they are deciding it, but there's like these sections and you go in and you do the thing with whatever character you're choosing. You're unlocking different characters with these points you are earning and various cards and whatnot. And each of the runs so far has felt pretty unique because the characters, 1, play differently, and 2, there is some RNG to the sort of upgrades you are able to get during a run. So you're kind of having to work with that as well. As far as the rhythm part of it, which is like the main thing, it's definitely one of those like hit the beats right on and you'll get the best outcome. But what I found really like challenging, or not, maybe not challenging is as much as like inefficient about it, was just that the markers for your the beats you're supposed to hit are so small and they're just around your character that I found myself so hyper focused on the character itself just by necessity. It's hard for me to appreciate the world around it. It wasn't difficult to like kill all the things that were around me or kind of like hope that my periph can pick up what's coming on what side, but it just, I have to be so focused on the character that I wish that it were like a wider kind of thing or something either around the screen in some way that lets me really appreciate all the art that's there instead of just being so focused on these tiny dots that are going around the character. So that's more of a like a, I don't know, personal preference thing. But I feel like it's taking away from all this world you've created if your eyes are just fixated on purely your character because that's where your beats are that you need to hit.
Yeah, you know what? That made me think of like maybe trying it without looking at that and just trying to go from the beat of the music. But like that's something I definitely haven't tried with this game yet, like not using the visual cue and just listening. So
yeah, but I also don't feel like the music doesn't necessarily follow the beats is the thing. Like even like if you were to stick on the beats, like it's not really following the music all the time.
You think it's so like that's where kind of off? Yeah,
it's either off or it's just like the beat that's kind of under the main beat to where it's like you're not.
Yeah, sure.
If I weren't looking, I don't know that I could just like pick it up instantly. It just like has like a similar sort of like
stuff
style to it where it's like every 2 beats it's like doom doom doom. So it's like that kind of style, but it's not. You're not hearing that like audibly. You just have to like watch your markers, or at least that's what I've been doing. And then when it gets into like the powered up mode, especially once you put it on a harder difficulty, then
that
it starts going
wild.
like boom, 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 boom. And it's like 2 3s and then 2s and then like all these different things around it. But it's also not being replicated in the music, to my knowledge, at least. So that's where it's harder for me. If it were just like a complete like following the beats of the music, then yeah, I could understand. Probably like easier. I just want to listen to it and then be able to replicate that. But instead, it doesn't seem like that's the case. So I'm purely relying on what I'm seeing on the screen. And I could be wrong. Like I'm not like any kind of like pro with music or rhythm or anything. But it just, to me, I don't think what I'm hearing is representing what I'm seeing visually.
Yeah, I totally get that. I think you've played it longer than I have at this point. So like, I think you've probably got a better understanding of it. And I would agree with like, I do wish whatever the visual cues were larger, because yeah, there's so much good stuff to look at in this game because the design of everything is so cool.
It is. Yeah. It's got that spooky, cute thing going on. And so I want to see this world around. I just can't because I have to look at these little dots that are going around my character.
Yeah. I saw that. So in your notes, you were like comparing it to like Crypt of the Necrodancer and Hi-Fi Rush. And yeah. I just wanted to ask you real quick, like, how much of Hi-Fi Rush did you get to play? Because I never got to play it and I really wanted to, but like, is it even available anymore? Because I know that studio got shut down and then for whatever reason, I thought that game got kind of wiped, sort of like, what was that other game we used to play? That wrestling game that got completely wiped out.
Oh,
Rumbleverse.
Rumbleverse, yeah,
yeah.
No, you can still download Hi-Fi Rush on Game Pass.
Okay,
yeah. So I didn't play too much of it, but I'm just talking like purely from the beat perspective. I think those games are done more in a way where you are able to follow the beat either audibly or like on screen. Representation is just like easier to follow around the screen. With this one, my only thing is that like it's just so small. It's not that it's hard to follow the beat. It's just it's so small that I'm missing out on so much that I want to be looking at. But it's a $5 game, I think it was. So it's like it doesn't have to be like super high quality. I just think like maybe there's an option even in the settings. I didn't check to like make it bigger, but like I just think if by default, I just wish it were automatically.
Right. I didn't think about that either. That would be nice. So, but yeah, I like the idea of like, I kind of wish it was something on the sides of the screens, even if they went like almost like Dance Dance Revolution route of like the scrolling, whatever.
We know those things that are like those machines that are in arcades where it's like you have to hit the paddles that are circles around the thing. If it was like a giant circle around the screen.
Last time we were down there visiting you and Rochelle were playing the heck out of those things.
Yeah, they're so fun. I love those games. So it's like but what that's doing is it's like has the beats on like the sides of the screens. So you can see, you have to look at like everything. And so I just wish this kind of replicated that feeling more, even if it kept the same sort of button combo.
Yeah, that would have been nice. I think that would be cool. You know what? Let's send them a message. Hey, fix your game. No.
Don't listen to me. I don't know anything, but that was my experience, at least with it.
No, I totally get it. I totally get that. But yeah, it's a super cool game, super fun and adorable. So adorable, spooky, which is such a great aesthetic to have.
Yeah, 100%. I love it visually. I've enjoyed playing it. It just, if I had one gripe, then that would be it.
Yeah. Last game I want to bring up real quick. This was another one sent to us by the developer. This is called Decade, sent to us by I don't know how to say this word. Piscian.
I think it's like either. Well, think of like Pisces. So I think it's like either Piscean or Piscean, like you said.
Piscean. Let's go with last Piscean. Like, that sounds better than anything else I would have come up with myself.
Yep.
So this is kind of a visual novel style game with very limited graphics, but it has a really super interesting premise and mechanics. The idea of this is that you are in this like this alternate world and you have 3 children, and in this alternate world, like the world is fairly over, like the world's just been completely ravaged with what they're referring to as a metal rain that just basically destroyed the world. And you have basically like a time machine and you are sending your 3 children back to various points in this timeline to try and figure out any way to possibly prevent your present circumstances to like change whatever happened. So you've got like your 3 kids of varying ages, but they're all like young kids. And like you start with just one point on this timeline and you like will send one there and basically to learn about whatever they can, and they will come back. When they come back, they will have aged. So it's kind of like random what age they will be when they come back. And they will have changed too. Like their personality will be slightly different. They will have adopted like a slightly different like traits and stuff. And that depends on like what they experienced in whatever timeline they went to, what you asked them to do when they got there, and how you talk to them when they're back. So like basically, you're a terrible parent is all I can think of in this game. You're terrible. But yeah, this world, and I gotta give credit for this dev because like I'm a lore guy. They've written like this crazy expansive, vast lore in this world and stuff. And so you were trying to like really piece together like all the events that might have created this. And there are so many different variables and things that could have led to this point. And you can have your kids either like, take things back with them to like a different decade and just kind of see what happens and see how it alters the timeline and stuff. Or you can have them go assassinate somebody. But really, it's just like all of these different things that you want to like experiment with and just kind of see what happens to see if you can get a better present. But like, your kids are aging this whole time, like, and eventually, they're going to run out of life, so it is limited in that way. And the kids are going to change, and maybe your kids are going to come back and they're going to hate you for the things that you've made them do and stuff. So there's like this moral dilemma to it all as well. So it's a very interesting premise that like I'm really, really into that. Visually, I wasn't super sold on it and stuff, but like the idea of this game is so cool and so interesting to me that like, yeah, I wasn't sure about it at first, and then I started playing it and I'm like, this is a brilliant idea. So yeah, super cool. Makes me feel like I'm a better dad than the dad of this game for sure. So that was a little bit of a boost, for me. But yeah, really interesting game. So check that out. Decade by Last Piscean. Last Piscean. We'll go with that. Final round. Let's talk about some upcoming indie games we're excited about. I've got 2 real quick. They'll be pretty short because I don't know too much about them other than the main premise. One is Nice Day for Fishing, which is an RPG about an NPC that happens to be a fisherman that has to step up and become the main character in the game because there's no heroes left. The heroes are all dead. So they have to transition from NPC to the main hero and save the world. And because they're a fisherman, that's like what they know. So it'll be all like fishing themed and fishing kind of mechanics and everything. But it is like, I think a turn-based style RPG and stuff, I believe. So I'm interested to see how that goes. I like the pixel art of it. Looks really interesting. The last one is Starlight Revolver. Just because like I just got accepted as a playtester for this one. And really, I'm really excited for this one because of how it looks. So this is an action roguelite with these like hyper neon colors and anime aesthetic. The devs are describing it as Hades meets Sailor Moon. And that is the description that made me be like, yeah, all right, I need this. This sounds great. So I'm excited to get into that, start playtesting it. I've got the copy now to get in and start going in on it, but no, I don't think I've got a release date for that one just yet, but just excited to get in and try.
The game I want to talk about is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tactical Takedown. This comes out on the 22nd, and apparently Splinter and Shredder are dead. That's what it says at the top. And you're helping the Turtles tackle deadly new threats and the approach of adulthood in this fast-paced, turn-based beat-em-up. which is kind of an interesting sort of, I don't know, juxtaposition of words, fast-paced
young
and
adult Mutant
turn-based.
Ninja Turtles. Yeah.
This one looks cool as far as like visually. It's a tactics game. I'm always behind that. My concern is that it's going to be like pretty content light, at least what I'm seeing of it. There are 20 levels, but you're not playing as like the whole team. The team, as far as the story goes, like they are kind of drifting apart a bit. So they're all sort of tackling their own little campaigns of this. Oh. And if you think about it, like if there are 20 levels, that means like they've got 5 levels apiece. The levels are interesting and they kind of like, well, it says mutate, but the levels like change as you're going through it. It's sort of a diorama style. It's a graphic novel diorama style visually, and almost looks like little figures that you're kind of setting up, and like almost like paper cut figures that are going through. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. And so like, again, like visually it looks cool, but I just think it might be like on the lighter side content wise. Doesn't mean it's going to be a bad game. I'm still going to get it. I'm probably going to enjoy it. I just hope that whatever they have to offer, the price is proportionate to what's there. That's my only concern, and or that it just has a lot more content than I'm thinking it's going to.
Yeah, that's always a concern when indie studios are taking on big IPs like that. Like we saw that with Retro Realms Arcade, where they took on Ash vs. Evil Dead and Halloween as like those IPs. And it's like those games were solid, like they were fun to play. But like both of those games felt like $5 games, and the whole thing was like way more than that. Like, was it 20 or more? I think. Can't remember. It might have been more than that. It might have been like a $30
I feel like it's like
game.
20 a piece or something. But
I think you were right. But definitely they were short games. Felt like $5 games, maybe $8 games. But because of that IP, the overhead on that thing is so high. So yeah, I understand your pause with that.
That I guess my recent example would be Rita's Rewind, the Power Ranger one that at least at launch did feel super content light, and like there was not really any differentiation between any of the Rangers, and they didn't have like different skill points or anything like that. So it's like, what, like you didn't feel there was a lot of variety here. That would be my concern here. This is a different studio. So, and the other games that they've made, this is Strange Scaffold is a studio. The other games that they've made that are pretty well renowned are I Am Your Beast. And what was the other one? It was like Space Warlord Organ Trading Simulator. And those are either excellently reviewed or at least like very positively reviewed. So it's like, if we're just looking at it from the developer standpoint, then I have something to look forward to. But just visually now, I think it looks great. But is that going to be enough to carry me through or to excuse whatever the price is? I don't know yet. So I just say this, that I'm excited because I love Ninja Turtle stuff, but I'm also a little nervous because of what we've seen in the past.
I might. I'm thinking about like putting together a video of like indie studios that have done these big IPs and stuff like that. It'd be interesting to like cover all of them and just kind of see how many there are. Like, because I can think of so many, especially Ninja Turtles have had so many in the last decade. So
like Ninja Turtles,
even more coming. Like
they've had some like amazing games. Like Splintered Fate is such a good game. The roguelike
Shredder's Revenge too.
And Shredder's Revenge, yeah. So it's like I'm hoping that this one also is better than I'm expecting it to be.
Right. And we've got like Toxic Crusaders still being worked on. Marvel announced theirs that I'm trying to remember the studio that's taking that on, because I think the one that's doing the Marvel one, I swear to God, I could be wrong, but I think it's the ones that did Splintered Fate, or not Splintered Fate. The ones that did Shredder's Revenge, I think is the one doing the Marvel one, but I might be wrong.
I think you're right. Yeah, because I do remember it was like a high quality game that they had done before. Yeah, no, you're right. I looked it up just now. So I know that's going to be good.
Yeah, maybe I'll use that as one of our top 5, top 10 videos. We'll see. If you see one pop up on our YouTube in the next few months or something, you'll know it came from this episode. Game over. So yeah, if you had a good time listening to this episode, stick around for the bumper so you can learn how to support the show and all the things we do here at Sloth Creative. You can also check the show notes for our link tree. That'll take you to our social media, Discord, subreddit, merch store, everything else. But get in touch with us. Let us know what indie games you're playing so you can help us elevate these games so we can help support indie developers. But that's game over for us. My name is Chris.
I'm Joseph.
And we'll continue on the next episode. Continue. Indie Game Arcade is recorded and produced by Sloth Creative. If you're looking for more gaming content, head over to youtube.com/nerdsloth for indie game let's plays and recommendations. If you'd like to support the show, head over to patreon.com/nerdsloth, where you can select a pledge and receive access to hundreds of hours of bonus content from everything at Sloth Creative. If you're an indie game developer and would like us to review your game or explore other opportunities, send an email to nerdslothcreative@gmail.com with the subject line Indie Game Arcade. Thanks for listening, and keep supporting indie game devs.